We are live and we have some news to talk about. There's been several trades, some transfer rumors, coaching hires. A lot is going on in Major League Soccer right now. Exciting times. And I'm sure you guys love the offseason just as much as I do. I mean, honestly, the offseason the offseason could be better than the regular season sometimes, just with all the activity that we see and all the transactions that happen. But I appreciate all you coming on tonight or joining me tonight on a Friday to talk about some of these moves, what I think, see what you guys think about it. And it's going to be interesting. So welcome back, everyone. Please make sure you like the stream down below, share with a friend, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my streams. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the first move yesterday that really shook MLS because of all the things that can happen because of this move. Leonardo Campana was traded from Inter Miami to the New England Revolution for a significant amount of GAM. Now, if you don't follow MLS very closely, GAM is general allocation money, or some people call it Garber bucks. It's got a couple different names. Either way, it is a mechanism that can help you buy some pretty important players and help you build your roster. And they were able to acquire a significant amount in this trade. They were able to get $2 million in GAM in 2025 for Leo Campana, with $500K in 2026, an international roster spot in 2025, and an international roster spot in 2026. Now, for you guys who don't know, in Major League Soccer, you're only allotted 8 international spots, so players that aren't obviously domestic. And if you can trade for other spots to get more international players, and that's what Inter Miami did, because we know that they want to build their roster with more international players. So Inter Miami acquire a spot for 2025 and 2026. I also have to preface that your players who play in the United States for a couple years can acquire a green card, and they no longer take up an international roster spot. So I would assume that is in the works, and they're going to have some players who won't be taking up an international roster spot sometime soon, and they'll be able to add even more international players, even though they already have a bunch. And they also retain a sell-on percentage of any future sale of Campana and could receive up to $750K in conditional general allocation money if certain performance-based incentives are met. Now, we don't know what that is. I mean, it could be 15 goals, 20 goals, 10 goals, make the playoffs. Not sure exactly what those incentives are for Leo Campana, but this is a great move because even if they sold him for $2 million overseas, South America, Europe, wherever it may be, Saudi, they wouldn't have been able to get $2 million in GAM. You can only convert so much of the transfer fee to GAM, and it's not $2 million. So they really capitalized on this trade for Leo Campana to the New England Revolution, and now they're going to be able to sign some midfield depth. They're going to be able to sign maybe a young striker to back up Luis Suarez, maybe a connection to Javier Mascherano. They're going to be able to sign center backs, which they desperately need. But this is going to help them. This is really going to help them build the depth on their roster, help them put together a competitive squad, ideally, to compete at the Club World Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Leagues Cup if they end up playing in it. And I want to bring this up too real quick. This is a post that showed, this is another big thing we got yesterday. Yesterday was just a crazy news day for MLS. But this is the shared photo or shared general allocation money numbers for each team in Major League Soccer. This is transparency that we have never had before in this league. So if you look at Inter Miami, they have $3.3 million before yesterday's trade. Now they have $5.3 million in GAM. And so that puts them right at 4th place for the most GAM in MLS. So they're really going to be able to build their roster out more now. This is going to help them significantly. And I know they've got some acquisitions, some irons in the fire right now, the players they're trying to get. This is a big move for them. And I don't think it's going to be the last move they make, because they're also probably going to move off trade calendar. Now, where does he go? I don't know yet. I don't know where he's going to go. He could go to San Jose. He could go to San Diego, but he's probably on the move because if you've seen the other reports, Inter Miami is also looking at an Argentine goalkeeper who's around 31 years old. And it looks like the writing's on the wall for Drake Callender. I don't think he's going to be starting goalkeeper anymore. So they've got somebody to play around with. They're going to get a probably another goalkeeper. They're probably going to get 2 to 3 center backs, and I don't think they're done moving off of current players as well. We could see Robert Taylor traded. We could see Toto Alvarez out on loan, the young center back. We could see a plethora of moves for this team. I don't think they're anywhere close to being done with player acquisitions, and this just helps them out even more. And you look at a team like Houston, it's only got $2 million, which is pretty sad because I don't recall a lot of players that they've used that money on to acquire in trades or whatever it may be. Someone said something about them trading an international roster spot permanently to Seattle. I don't know if that's true, but and I think maybe they had traded for it back. Either way, we get a full list of every team's general allocation money, how much they have, and it would be cool that if we could see how much they have after each trade just to get an update. So that is interesting, and it's cool to be able to look at that. Let's read a couple comments. Elon Don says, so many moves. Mr. Mister says, hi, Will. If this is your last stream before Christmas, then Merry Christmas to you and your family, dude. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you. It might be the last stream. I'm not sure because we normally do Wednesday streams in the off season with Favi, and that is Christmas Day. So this probably will be the last stream of the year, unless there's some crazy breaking news, and we'll do an emergency live stream. William Mara says, hello from Ecuador. William, appreciate you for tuning in tonight. Jonathan Ling says, Atlanta making big moves. They are. We will talk about that in a little bit. We will talk about Ronney Deila. We will talk about Chris Henderson. That will be probably what we finish it off on. But that is some big moves, and it's encouraging for the team. Michael Pelly says, Inter Miami made a great business move, getting so much GAM for 2 years, plus still hanging on to sell-on percentage. I agree. Shrewd business by Inter Miami gives them flexibility to really build their team up. Leo Campana wasn't starting for Inter Miami. He was obviously a backup to Luis Suarez. Now, I've seen some people upset with them trading him because of Luis Suarez's age, and having a reliable backup striker is very hard to come by in MLS. So there were some people upset with it, but I think it was a good move, and they got a lot of money for him. And I think it's going to help them build a better team for 2025 for the regular season, for the Club World Cup, for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, for Leagues Cup. I mean, they're playing in 4 different, not just a league and then 3 different tournaments. They're going to have some depth, and they're going to have some able bodies who are quality, not a drop off, if they want to compete and make some noise next year. Mr. Mister says, any rumors that come from European media, take them with a pinch of salt. They'll say anything to get people to watch them. You never know what's real and what isn't. Yeah, there's so many accounts on Twitter or X that obviously are just trying to get some engagement, and they'll post anything, even if they are wish casting for a player to get a certain move. They'll post something and say that it's got a source from somebody. Michael Pelly says GAM is worth more in cash than MLS, since there is a fixed amount of GAM in the league, so as well as international spots. I agree. They really maximized this trade. I think this was a good trade for Inter Miami, and it's really going to help them down the stretch for their season. And look, this is the great news, right? Yesterday was crazy. We've had a couple rumors come out, but we haven't even scratched the surface yet. This is going to be a crazy offseason. This is going to be an exciting offseason. There's going to be moves. I expect us to start hearing some rumors probably next week. There's going to be some rumors of some decent players coming to MLS. And I think we've only scratched the surface. It's going to get more exciting from here. I can't wait to see what happens. John Paul says, it's spring cleaning in Miami. Robert Taylor, Drake Callender, and Gressel is next to get out. So Julian Gressel already had his option declined. He's already out. So Robert Taylor and Drake Callender are still under contract. I do expect them to be moved soon. I expect that to happen. I'm not saying it's a certainty, but if I had a bet between Robert Taylor and Drake Callender, which one is more likely to be moved, I would say Drake Callender, but I do think there's a good chance that both of them get traded. Matthew Garcia says Atlanta will be a dangerous team in 2025. I think there's a good chance. I think there's a really good chance they could be a dangerous team in 2025. They have some money to work with. They have the most scam in the league. They have Garth Lagerwey, who has proven he can win. They have Chris Henderson, who's obviously knows the league very well. And they have Ronney Deila. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We will get into that. But guys, we have 44 of you in the chat right now. We only have 12 likes. Let's get up to 30 likes. Like this video if you haven't already. Let's get to 30 likes. It helps us with the algorithm. Let's get as many people in here as we can. Let's talk some MLS moves, some MLS transfers, MLS coaching hires. It's going to be an exciting night. So like the video right now if you haven't already. Let's see what we got here. Sebas Inter says, what do you think about the Club World Cup? Will you be going? And do you think a European team sends their A team? I think they have to. If I'm not mistaken, I think they'll be penalized if they don't have their A teams play in a certain amount of games, or they're really being encouraged to try for this tournament. I might try to go to a game. I'm not sure. I might just stay home and do a live watch along and enjoy it with you guys. But maybe I'll go to a game. It really just depends on what the ticket prices are going to be, because we know that they'll probably be astronomical. Honestly, they'll probably be crazy expensive. Let's see. Joy Boy says we so wanted him, Campana, in Montreal. Yes, I would assume you would. I mean, this is a good trade for most MLS teams. Now, the reason he's not playing, like I said, is because he's behind Luis Suarez, probably the best striker of his generation. So Leo Campana would have probably started on 24 to 25 other MLS teams out of 29. So this is a good trade for New England. This is a win-win. They're getting a good, consistent, effective striker when he plays minutes, and Inter Miami gets the resources they need to build a better and deeper team. Matthew Garcia says, Inter Miami made a smart move. Yeah, so let me just ask you this, because I want to wrap up the Leo Campana thing. I want to move on to another rumor. But what would you give the Leo Campana trade 1 through 10, 1 being an absolute disaster, 10 being perfect trade for Inter Miami? What would you grade the Leo Campana trade from Inter Miami? $2 million in GAM, $500K in 2026, 2 international roster spots, 1 for 25, 1 for 26, future sell-on clause, and $750K in GAM if certain performance-based incentives are met. Great trade if you ask me. Great trade if you ask me. Jay says Gressel to DC will be there. That could happen. That could happen. Francisco Garcia says light given. Let's see. Radfam, do you think they're going to trade Facundo Torres to a Liga MX team? So Facundo Torres is already signed with Palmeiras in Brazil. He's not coming to Liga MX. He's going to Brazil, Palmeiras. He just signed, I think it was CL Merlot, just tweeted the picture of him in the Palmeiras jersey and him signing his deal with them. So all bets are off. Now, Kike Oliveira could be someone that they could revisit. Jaden the Man says, do you think Pablo Torre could come here temporarily? Is it possible? That is a possibility. I just have to see what's going to happen with Inter Miami. Now, there's been rumors picking up again that they could be going for Neymar. I don't know if that's feasible right now. I don't know what the Saudi team would be wanting transfer fee-wise for him, but that is a possibility. I think they will. This past year, they used 4 U22s, 2 DPs. You get to choose 3 DPs, 3 U22s, or 2 DPs and 4 U22s. I expect them to do 3 DPs and 3 U22s this year. So if they sign Torre, I think he'll be a DP. If they sign Neymar, he obviously will be a DP. So we will see what happens. Let's see. Mr. says, I've got no idea who even want to buy Drake Calendar. You know what's crazy is they had a great offer for him in the Leagues Cup. There was a team that offered like $5 or $6 million for Drake Calendar after the Leagues Cup. So it is crazy that they didn't sell him when the price was up. Okay, I want to touch on this one real quick because this is a very good trade for them. Did the Gaston Brugman trade surprise you? It did surprise me, not because I expect him to be back with LA Galaxy, but because of what they traded for him. They only traded what was it? They traded like Sean Davis and $100K in GAM for Gaston Brugman. And he was the MVP of the MLS Cup final. He's been a very good player, very technically sound, played in Serie A for several years, Uruguayan international. And I thought that was a player that the Galaxy really shouldn't trade because Ricky Puig is going to be out for probably most of 2025. And I would assume most of you guys watch MLS Cup like I did. He stepped in there and he played very well in place of Ricky Puig. So that is a big loss and a great gain for Nashville SC. And they only traded $100K in Gammon. Sean Davis. Sean Davis is washed. He's not good. So they completely upgrade with that. I don't like the Sean Davis acquisition. And we will see what the LA Galaxy do, because with Ricky Puig being out the whole year, they're going to have someone play in his place. And I don't know if Marco Royce can do that the whole season. They're going to have somebody pick up the slack there. So I think they might have an ace up their sleeve, and I will be interested to see what they do going forward, at least for 2025. That's why I thought the Gio Reyna loan made some sense, because I don't want Gio Reyna in MLS long term. He needs minutes. He could play for half a season until Puig comes back. And then when Puig comes back, he goes back to Europe and gets sold. I honestly thought it was a win-win situation for LA Galaxy and Gio Reyna. But let's move on to let's move on. Let's see. We got Joey here. He says, "Howdy, howdy! Smash the like button, everyone. This man works hard for us. Let's support him, and it's free." Joey, appreciate the kind words. Last I checked, we were like 22 likes. Let's get to 30 likes. We're getting close. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's get to 30 likes. Share with a friend. Grow the audience. Let's get more people in here and have a good time. So the next room I want to move on to. This one is a big deal. This is a guy that played in MLS before. It's Miguel Almiron. Now, Miguel Almiron played for Atlanta United. He was part of the new phase of MLS. Let me get a drink of water real quick. He was really the first player in the new era of MLS where we could sign talented young South American players. Atlanta United paid like $8 million for him in 2017. Tata Martino recommended signing. Paraguayan international, came to MLS and changed MLS completely. Him and Joseph Martinez were two of the most exciting players that I've ever watched in Major League Soccer. They were one of the best duos, probably a top 5 duo in MLS history. Absolutely killed it. Played beautiful, attractive football. Played here for 2 years, did very well, and then got sold to Newcastle for an MLS record. I think it was like 27 million euros or something like that. MLS record. And he kind of struggled in the Premier League for a couple years, which a lot of guys do. And I didn't know if his style really fit the Premier League, because he's kind of a smaller guy. It's a very physical league, as most of you know, very technically sound. So it was an adjustment for him. But in 2022, 2023, he had his best season. He really came into his own. And I would say that maybe he's not the superstar or as good as they had wanted, but I think he settled in and he was a good player for Newcastle United. Anyway, Charlotte FC tried to buy him this summer. They couldn't get the deal done because they wanted like $20 million for him. That was out of their price range. So they went to a short-term loan deal. I forgot the guy's name. I think his last name was Beal, and it didn't work out. Well, they're revisiting this deal again, and I think that they're going to be able to get him somewhere. I think it's reported around $10 million. So I think there's a really good chance that Miguel Almiron comes back to Major League Soccer at 30 years old. He'll be 31 in February. But he's a very good player, especially for Major League Soccer. Played in the Premier League for 5 to 6 years. And I think that this would be a very, very good signing for Major League Soccer. And I don't think you can say that he came back as a failure, because most Premier League teams move off of you if you're not good, right? Especially, at 25, 26 years old, they're not going to hold on to you if you're not showing any type of promise. I mean, he made it. He stayed there for almost 6 years. So I think that he had a very, very I would call it a successful stint. Maybe not as good as you'd like, but a successful stint. 183 caps in the Premier League, 23 goals. This is a good signing for for Charlotte FC, and I'm a big fan of this. I'm a very big fan of this. We'll see what happens. Now, Atlanta United has 2 DP spots open, and I know some Atlanta United fans would probably want him to come back. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if he comes back, it's going to be Charlotte FC, because they already have Miranchuk, and he is he plays a similar position as Almiron. So I don't think there's going to be a reunion with him in Atlanta United. But Charlotte FC for $10 million is a great deal really good deal for Charlotte FC, really good deal for the league, really good deal for Miguel Almiron, and he'll probably be paid and compensated very, very nicely. Let's see. John Paul says the difference between Miami and Atlanta right now is Atlanta has about 1 million more GAM, but is a dumpster fire, while Miami has a lot of GAM as well as where supporters shield winner. Yeah, but they also got Chris Well, we'll talk about Atlanta United next. We will talk about Atlanta United next. But I think Atlanta United is about to get turned around. I'm feeling positive about about Atlanta United. Gavin Meister says you didn't think Gio Reyna move was good initially. It's a tough one. It's a tough sell for USMNT fans, but I think that you could be sold on why it could be a win-win if it's short term, 6 months, nothing more, nothing less. 6-month loan, guarantee him some minutes, let him play, let him develop, and then go back to Europe and be sold or play for Dortmund. But I don't think that's going to happen because he's being integrated back into the Dortmund lineup. So I'd be very surprised if very surprised if Gio Reyna gets a move to MLS now. Matthew Garcia says Charlotte are in talks on Almiron. Yes, they are in talks on Almiron. I think there's a good chance it happens. We'll see. They wanted to sell him for $20 million last time. Charlotte said no. They're offering around $10 million now. I think that's probably good enough to get it. Probably good enough to get it done. Yes. And that's what's being reported out there. That's not me reporting this. That is what is being reported out there. You can look it up yourself that there's a good chance he comes to Charlotte FC, and it is someone that they wanted back in the summertime. They just couldn't get the deal done. Michael Pelly says, do you think the new New York Red Bulls signing will be impactful as Forsberg has been? Probably not. I'm not too thrilled with that signing just because of his age. He's like 36 years old. And I think he's not a Messi, he's not a Suarez. It's completely different. So Choupo-Moting, I'm not a big fan of that signing. We'll see what happens. But him being a DP is kind of crazy, honestly. But we'll see what happens. I mean, he was a decent sub for Bayern Munich. He scored 19 goals off the bench. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he still has what he can do in MLS, but that's not the signing I would have personally liked to have seen them do. Maybe someone a little younger than Forsberg. Forsberg's like 33, he'll be 34 next season, and this guy's 35, he'll be 36 at the start of the season. Not ideal. I think that they could have done better than that. Gavin Meister says, I'm not sad to see Click go, but how does that move make sense for DC? He'll be an Atlanta player, but still hold a DP spot for United. How? I'm going to be honest with you, Gavin. I have no idea what the hell DC United are doing. I've heard rumors that they're just kind of coasting by, waiting for 2026 so they can sell the team maybe. I've heard a couple like that the ownership is just completely uninvolved. Like they're not trying to win like they were in 18 when they had Lucho Acosta, when they had Lucho Acosta, Wayne Rooney. Those days seem to be far gone. Like that's not really what they're doing anymore. Troy Lessin, I'm not really sold on him as a manager. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. But yes, that is bad business in my opinion by DC United to essentially give him away to your rival and then keep him as a DP on your team, and he's a TAM player for targeted allocation money player for Atlanta United. That's great business for Atlanta United. Let's go ahead and talk about Atlanta United. Let's go ahead and get into that and talk about what they recently did because they made a coaching hire. Now, this is something that was very highly anticipated. There's been let me get this shared back up real quick. I didn't mean to stop sharing. This has been a rumor of like who is going to be the coach. There's been a couple New York City former New York City FC coaches in the running for this job. They hired Ronney Deila, and Ronney Deila is a very complicated manager. Okay, so when he was hired by New York City FC, by the way, I was the first person back in 2020, the first person out there to break the news that Ronney Deila was the manager of New York City FC. I was the first one to have that. That was probably the coolest thing I've broken news-wise, except for Lorenzo Insigne, but I'm not really doing that anymore, so that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so he goes to New York City FC, very up and down. A lot of people wanted him fired. A lot of people were growing impatient with him. There was even a point where he had a losing streak, and it was told to him that if he lost the next game, he was going to be fired. Well, he had a crazy run towards the end, had a great playoffs in 2021, and he was able to. There was an incident I remember against the Revolution. I can't remember what it was specifically, but there was a highly debated issue against the Revs of why they lost that game to New York City FC. Either way, they won the MLS Cup on penalties in 2021, and then he coached half a season and he went to Standard Liège, and they replaced him with Nick Cushing, and Nick Cushing was an absolute disaster. I'd be curious to see who New York City FC hire in his place. Either way, he goes there, and not too, okay, not great, 42 win percentage, normally a pretty competitive team in the Belgian league. Then he goes to Bruges, 60% win percentage, not as good as what they'd like. He did win the league for Bruges last year, but then he moved to, I think it's Awada, if that's how you pronounce it correctly. And he only coached a couple games. It's really a weird situation. What happened there? They let him go like yesterday or something because I think that they caught wind that he was going to leave for Atlanta United. He won the Scottish Premiership twice. I remember when he got hired at New York City FC, there were a lot of Scottish Premier League fans or Celtic fans saying that he wasn't that good. I don't know. I think he was a decent coach. He's won the league everywhere he's went, except for in Norway. He won it once in Norway, but he not every stint he's won a league. But he won the Belgian league last year, and he's won an MLS. He had an over 50% win percentage for New York City FC. I think it's a good hire, honestly. I think it's a good hire for Atlanta United, and they got Garth Lagerwey, who has built two really good winning clubs with Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders. Chris Henderson obviously was at Seattle for a long time. Then he went to Inter Miami to clean up their mess, won there, and did a very, very good job. And now they have a good manager who has won an MLS Cup in Major League Soccer. So I think that they're on the right track. They got 2 DP spots. We just talked about this a minute ago. They got the most GAM in the entire league. They got 6.3 million. So they've got all the ingredients to really cook. And they just got clicked from DC United, where he's a TAM player, and he's not technically a DP, which he was for DC United because he made $2.1 million last year. So look, things are looking really good for Atlanta United. This is probably the best spot they've been in a long time. If I was an Atlanta United fan, I would be very, very excited about what's to come. It feels like they're finally on the right track. And Gonzalo Pineda was just such a disaster. He was such a bad coach. He was so bad. He should have been fired a lot. He should have been fired a lot sooner than what he was this past summer, because he was just a disaster. And this is a club that's got 4 of the 6 MLS transfer records. So the spending has never been an issue. And Gonzalo Pineda was just so underwhelming, and the club's was in an identity crisis compared to when they were with Tata Martino. I think that Ronney Deila is a good coach, and as good of a coach as they realistically could have hired. And honestly, they were talking to Patrick Vieira. He got a job in France, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Italy. Either way, he got another job in Europe, and I would honestly rather have Ronney Deila than Patrick Vieira. So I think you guys are doing just fine, honestly. Friend Cheyenne says, all my homies miss Lagerwey and Henderson. So you're telling me you don't like Craig Weibel, Cheyenne? What? There's no way, dude. We know you like We know you like Craig Weibel. That's your boy. Brian Schmetzer and Craig Weibel are your boys. Mr. says, that's one bit of business that needs to be done. Toronto, get rid of Insigne. Yeah, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. They don't have a coach either. Their coach got fired because of the drone scandal, or he stepped down. So yeah, there's a lot of issues going on with Toronto FC. I don't really know what the solution is there. Soccer Daddy says, how's it going, Will? It's going well. This is the 3rd stream in a row, or fourth stream in 3 days. Did one on my channel on Wednesday. Then I had a guest appearance on Wednesday. Then I did another stream yesterday as a guest, and then we're back at it today. And apologies for not being able to do it earlier today at 2:30. Had to do some more Christmas shopping, do some more Christmas stuff. Had to get that out of the way because it's right around the corner. So it's a later stream, but I'm glad that all of you guys were still able to join me. Guys, we are 3 likes away from 30. Or actually, we're 2 likes away from 30 likes. So make sure you hit that like button down below. Let's get to 30. Hell, let's get to 40. like the show down below, share with a friend. Have any questions, fire them away, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you never miss any of the content. But there's a lot of stuff picking up right now. There was another trade, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think of what else. There was something else that happened, or another rumor that I'm trying not to forget what. Damn, there was something else because today was just crazy. It's like drinking through a fire hose, honestly, with all the stuff that was going on. They had the draft, and isn't that crazy that they didn't live stream the draft? They did not live stream the draft. They had this group of guys. It was like 3 or 4 or 5 guys, 290 subscribers. It was 300 by the end of it, streaming this draft coverage, and they had like 1,000 people watching it. So it's funny that there's other channels that have better draft coverage in the league itself, which is really, really crazy. Millie2 says, liked, appreciate it, my friend. Cheyenne says, talk about the Seattle Sounders next. Yeah, no, so there's rumors about Paul Arriola being traded to Seattle, which is not official yet. And it looks like that's going to happen. He won't be a DP. And it also looks like they were going to get Jesus Ferreira. We'll see if that goes through. I don't know yet. It's kind of the rumors have kind of died down since then. Kind of interesting moves for two interesting moves for the club. I'm not too excited for it. We'll see if it helps. Cheyenne says, I hope they don't sign them both. They're probably going to sign them both, and they're going to sign a third USMNT player that you hate. Probably someone else. John Paul says, liked and will, what 3 teams do you think will have the most exciting transfer windows in the league? Atlanta is cooking. Miami is selling, preparing for something, and there's so many moves. Okay. 3 most exciting or 3 biggest windows or 3 teams with the best windows. Let's see. Now this is before anything's happened. I'll say Miami's 1 because of all the resources they're collecting. I'll say Atlanta United, and I will say my 3rd team will be. Ooh, it's a tough one. I think San Diego FC, because they have so many spots still open. I think they're going to make some more moves in the next couple weeks, and they still have 2 DP spots open. So I think San Diego FC is definitely going to be a team that's going to be active in the final, leading up to the season, and they're going to get some more moves. Cheyenne says, "Don't renew Rusnak." I think that's going to happen. That's what the report was, that they were going to renew him as a DP. That's what I saw the other day, which is crazy. Millie2 says, cancel my MLS subscription for the off season, but we subscribe to MLS Moves. Appreciate it. Millie2 is really appreciate the support. It's going to be, man, I honestly thought there might be a little bit of a gap or a break between news and what's going on, but it's just been straightforward. Like, there's been a lot of stuff going on, coaching. And keep in mind, we talked about Ronney Deila being hired by Atlanta United. We still have New York City FC, Toronto FC, Vancouver Whitecaps, and Philadelphia. Oh, okay. Here, that's another thing. Okay, so there's rumors that, just want to hit this too real quick. There's rumors that the Philadelphia Union are prepared to hire Bradley Cardinell, who was St. Louis City SC's manager from 22 to the beginning of 2024. He won the West in his first season at St. Louis City SC, which I think he was the first expansion team to ever finish first place in the conference. So that was a great feat. And they didn't really spend any money this past year, and they kind of scapegoated him, fired him in July. I would say kind of unfairly, because they didn't spend anything or give him a chance to really fix anything after a great season for an expansion team. They dumped him, and they hired this guy from Sweden this offseason, and they had an interim coach the rest of the year. But I think that Bradley Cardinell is a good manager, and I will be curious to see how he does in Philadelphia if they end up making this hire, which the reports are saying that that's what's going to happen. But Philadelphia is going to have to spend some money, because that was Jim Curtin's undoing, was that they just wouldn't give him anything to work with. I mean, their record transfer fee was like 2.7 million euros, and that would be some teams like 7th or 8th or hell, even 10th transfer fee record, or a 10th on their list of their highest transfer fees. So the Union really play Moneyball, which is hard to win with, or that's hard to win that way. So if they give him resources, I think the Philadelphia Union will be somewhat successful. We've seen them go to the MLS Cup in 22. We saw them make it in the playoffs in 23. Last year was a down year, but I think that Bradley Carnell is a good coach, and I do like that hire if that's what they end up doing. Michael Pelly says it would never happen, but would Lewandowski and De Bruyne be a good pairing for Seattle? I mean, to be honest with you, that'd be a good pairing for anybody, right? That would be a really good pairing for any team in Major League Soccer to get those two kinds of players, right? Even Lewandowski at 36 years old. See, that's a guy that you want to take a swing on at 36 years old is someone like him, not someone like the new New York Red Bulls signing at 36 years old. I mean, that's the guys I'm going for. The big names that still can do something at their age. Matthew Garcia says Apple TV is doing a very bad job. Yeah, I think that Apple TV definitely has had some shortcomings. Was on a show last night, Battered MLS, talking about the schedule, talking about how they're spreading games out more. They're not jam packing them. They're having them spread out all through the day. Some games on Fridays, some games on Sundays. I think that's going to help quite a bit, and that's something they needed to do, especially someone for like me who covers the league. It's really hard to watch all these teams if they're all playing at the same time. I have to pick and choose who I want to watch. It'd be nice if I could have them all spread out and be able to watch several games instead of just like 2 or 3. Millie Tube says MLS League Pass needs to function like NBA League Pass. Yeah, but they really need to start promoting it better. That's one thing they really need to start doing to help the league out. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it covering the transfer news. I'll go 5 more minutes if you have any more questions about a team or coaching hire or anything else. But I think we covered everything for the most part so far. And we'll do another live stream probably next week at some point. If there's going to be some more news, we'll talk about it. We'll get your thoughts on what you think about the move and the potential move. John Paul says KVD and Lewandowski would be a good pairing for Europe, let alone Seattle and MLS in general. Exactly. Yes, for sure. Any team would be lucky to have them. Michael Pelly says, I heard LA Galaxy are going after Lewandowski to reunite with Royce, though. There's been rumors about him going to LA. I don't know how true that is. They don't have a DP spot to do that. So I don't know how they would get to work. I don't know what Lewandowski's salary is for Barcelona, but I seriously doubt he'll take a huge pay cut like Royce did to come to MLS. Even though Royce is getting some type of kickbacks or some type of creative mechanism or deal to get him paid in other ways. Yeah, Lewandowski's making 33 million euros this year. There's no way he's coming to MLS for 1.5 million. That's just not going to happen. Jay says, how do you think the St. Louis City SC will do next season? Have you seen Kello how do you pronounce his last name? I haven't, honestly. I have not seen him. I think St. Louis City SC, I don't know how well they'll do. I'm not really sold on their coach. I think he was kind of mediocre in Sweden based just looking at his track record. But they're going to have to spend a little more money if they really want to compete, or it'll be more of the same. But I think they could battle for one of the final playoff spots, honestly. John Paul says, how many signings do you think we should expect from Miami in the winter window? I think they're going to have a new goalkeeper. I think they're going to have 2 to 3 new center backs, probably 2 more midfielders. So that's 6. And then probably a winger and a striker. So probably between 6 to 8 signings is what I would expect Miami to have. Between 6 to 8. Let's see. Jovic, why would they? LA got Jovic. Why would they want Lewandowski? Well, what if they sell Jovic? What if they get a good offer and they have to sell him, or they trade him? Maybe I don't think they're ready to move off him, but what if that happens? Michael Pelly says, I think they will sell off Peck, which would give room. Yeah, but if you sell Peck, you've got to replace him on the right wing or you're in trouble. Like, you have to replace Gabriel Peck. I mean, that is something you cannot lose. He was their best player in 2024, and I think that needs you can't go without filling his role on the right wing. He was too important, and now they're probably going to sell him sooner than later, but you're going to have to replace him on the right wing. Soccer Day says let's see, Miami big signing will be in the summer. Maybe it just depends on if they can get Neymar, because he wants out. Thinks the Saudi team's ready to move on. we'll see if they can get that done. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I appreciate you for tuning in. Like I said, make sure you like the video down below. We're like 5 away from 40, so help us get to 40. Smash the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for the best MLS coverage that you can get, and hit the little bell notification so you never miss one of my videos. Appreciate you guys tuning in on a Friday night. Until next time, guys, we'll see you all soon.